Now, Stu with Reggie Chatman.
I'm going to show up and come to work and do exactly what everybody tells me. You know, I'm on a need-to-know basis right now, so I'm coming to work every day and doing what I'm told.
It's been a while since Joe Burrow has been the low man on the totem pole. Good evening and welcome back. I'm Reggie Chatman with your sports. We'll have more on the former Tiger star in a moment, but as we get closer to college football returning, we're getting more and more of a picture of what it could all look like. For example, the LSU football equipment staff tweeted out a picture today of the new splash shields that players will be wearing on their helmet face mask, a plastic guard used like a mask to help limit exposure. And we'll also know that as of yesterday, the season in the SEC will consist of a 10-game conference-only schedule. Sports 2's Michael Cobble has more on the ripple effect that decision creates for other schools.
The move to a 10-game SEC-only schedule certainly shocking, but no one caught more off guard than the 4 teams that now find themselves off of LSU's schedule. In-state foes like Nichols needs that money to keep their athletic programs afloat. And LSU Deputy Athletic Director Verge Osbury says they have every desire to reschedule those 4 teams.
We feel bad for those schools. Texas, I was a home and home. So, but all the other schools, though, those games are important to them, and it's important to us also. And it means a lot to their budgets, a lot to their programs. That's something we'll start doing next week. Be contacting all 4 of them to figure out where we go from here. There's a lot of little details in each of their schedules that working within our schedules. We've scheduled out pretty far now, and where you fit them in at, where the games take place, those type of things. So there's some details we have to work through, and I think we'll be contacting them in next week. In the next couple of weeks, we should have some final answers on that.
The bad news might only just be beginning for these lower tiered schools, as a 10-game conference-only schedule could very much be in the works for the future if it succeeds in this odd coronavirus season. Outside Tiger Stadium, I'm Michael Cobble, WBRZ Sports 2.
All righty, thank you very much, Michael. With only 8 SEC games currently on the schedule for LSU, here's a look at the 4 teams LSU could potentially be adding to bring that number to 10. LSU faced off against 2 of them just last season, most notably Georgia, who LSU beat in the SEC championship. The other team was Vanderbilt, who the Tigers put up 68 points against in Week 4. Tennessee and Kentucky are the 2 other options, both of which went 8-5 and won their bowl games in 2019. Now from college to the NFL, former LSU quarterback Joe Burrow put pen to paper today as now officially a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. His 4-year rookie contract is worth $36.19 million. 24 of that he'll have in his bank account in 2 weeks. Incredible. In classic Joe Burrow fashion, when asked about his success at LSU and winning the Heisman Trophy, he said looking back would be a disservice to himself and his team. So with that, he moves forward with a team that has done its best to surround him with weapons. Pro Bowl level talent and wideout A.J. Green is back under the franchise tag. Tyler Boyd and John Ross are still on the roster, and they drafted former Clemson receiver T. Higgins as well. For Burrow, the confidence he carried at LSU remains as he hopes to continue success at the next level.
Football is football. It's all the same, basically. Everybody steals plays from other teams, and there's a couple new plays here and there, and every coach just has their own way of verbalizing things and reading certain concepts. So it's just adapting to the new language and the few new concepts that you see.
Although the Bengals went 2-14 under first-year head coach Zach Taylor last season, this team will look a little bit different in 2020. Between Burrow, 7-time Pro Bowler A.J. Green, who was injured last season, and last year's first-round draft pick and offensive lineman Jonah Williams, the Bengals will have 3 first-round picks playing that didn't play last season. And add to the mix Joe Mixon to the mix. This is a team with a sense of direction on the offensive side of the football. All righty, that's it for sports. We'll have more news right after this commercial break.
Now, Sports 2 with Reggie Chatman.
It's been a long time since I got drafted, and to finally step foot in the building, it was more of just, it's about time.
Good evening and welcome back. I'm Reggie Chatman with your sports. With the NFL season expected to begin in just 41 days, teams around the country welcome players back this week. For the Cincinnati Bengals today, it was hello to Joe Burrow, who officially joined the team after signing the dotted line earlier today. A 4-year contract worth $36.19 million with a $24.9 million signing bonus. As the #1 overall pick, that money is an investment in a player that the Bengals believe will help them eventually break a 19-year run without a playoff win. For that reason, Burrow already recognizes how much faith the coaching staff has in the 23-year-old.
It feels great to immediately have the trust of the coaching staff. You know, I've come a long way in the last 3 to 4 years in that aspect. So it feels great coming in and knowing that they have my back. And, you know, if I make a mistake in practice, you know, I'm not going to get benched. I'm going to, you know, they're going to come back, talk to me about it. Hey, what'd you see? You know, here's how you can be better. So that does feel really good.
I bet it does. Alrighty, now moving from the professional athletes to players looking to become professional one day. Over at Catholic High School, the football team had a chance today to show off their skills to help get them to the next level, the collegiate level. Sports 2's Matt Trent explains.
This afternoon at Catholic, head coach Gabe Fertitta heeding the advice of the state health department, but in a football sense, more testing.
After you measure, straight to the field.
The Bears holding a football combine in hopes of giving some kids some numbers to send out to college coaches in a time where a chance is very much appreciated.
5-4 flat.
You go to those college camps, it's very much it's a meat grinder processing thing. They just process you through, you know.
Good. Jump rip. Break step. Stick. First. Good. Jackson. Walker. 4-1-2.
I think they got the feel of what it would be like, you know, to go to one of those camps.
It was a very fun experience, like the first time I ever done something like this. So of course it was different, but I think it was good for exposure for everybody to, you know, get out and show their skills.
Keep bringing it. Keep bringing it.
COVID has pulled college coaches off the road to recruit, but the purpose of the event is in the proof. After sophomore Shelton Sampson blazed a 4.340, he had his first Division I offer less than 2 hours after the combine ended.
Originally, our idea was to do this at the end of May when it was still the open recruitment period for college coaches, and they could be here. And of course, the best laid plans of mice and men, coronavirus came. We're going to create a link that'll have, when a college coach clicks on that link, it'll send them to the data for that kid, his height, his weight, his wingspan, and all of his numbers from today, and then also all of his drill work. Kind of be like a one-stop shop for those college coaches who didn't get to see these guys in their camp.
In Baton Rouge, Matt Trent, WBRZ Sports 2.
All righty, thank you, Matt. Really cool for Gabe Fertitta to be able to do that for his guys. All right, that's it for sports. Shing, do you think you could run a 40 that fast?
Absolutely not. Nowhere close. Thank you, though, Reggie. Thank you for watching the 10 o'clock news. News continues next on WBRZ+.
I noticed how he didn't ask me. Huh? I'm just.
Well, I know you can. That's why I didn't ask.
Right. Have a great night.
Now, Sports 2 with Reggie Chatman.
Good evening and welcome back. I'm Reggie Chatman with your sports. The New Orleans Saints welcome back the team this week for COVID-19 testing and physicals before they begin walkthroughs on Monday. So far, the Black and Gold haven't had any players added to the COVID-19 list, unlike the Lions, who added their quarterback Matthew Stafford earlier today. Unfortunate news there. But speaking of quarterbacks, Drew Brees found himself in hot water earlier this year after reiterating his stance that, quote, he will never agree with anyone disrespecting the flag of the United States of America, end quote. This came in an interview with Yahoo Finance when he was asked about Colin Kaepernick's 2016 protest of police brutality against minorities, where he kneeled during the national anthem. Since then, Brees has apologized multiple times after backlash and has had meetings with teammates critical of his comments. Today, he met with media for the first time ahead of his 20th NFL season, saying he's reconciled with his team, and those comments back in June totally missed the mark.
To think for a second that New Orleans or the state of Louisiana or the black community would think that I was not standing with them for social justice, that completely broke my heart. Never, ever would I feel that way. Now, I recognize that I missed an opportunity that day. I had an opportunity to talk about and emphasize the social injustices that exist for our black community and our need as a country to support them and to advocate for systemic change. And my lack of awareness in that moment hurt a lot of people. I acknowledge and respect anyone who chooses to kneel or any other form of peaceful protest to bring attention to the social injustices and systemic racism that so many have endured and continue to endure in our country. I will always support and advocate for the black and brown communities in the fight for social justice, always.
Now, Brees mentioned that he will continue to stand for the flag during the anthem because of what it means to him. But like you heard, he now understands and respects that the people that decide to kneel in protest. Alrighty, switching gears to the court, the Pelicans are looking to bounce back after a disappointing loss to the Jazz in the restart opener on Thursday. And while a blown 16-point lead was one of the talking points, Zion Williamson being held out for the last couple of minutes in a game that they could have won stole all the headlines. He finished the game with 13 points and 2 turnovers in only 15 minutes of action. Head coach Alvin Gentry said before today's game that they'll still be monitoring Zion's time and how he looks on the floor.
You know, we don't have any certain amount of minutes, but we will play him in bursts. As long as he's not showing any kind of signs of exhaustion, we'll keep him out there. But we also have the medical guys right there that, you know, if they feel that he needs to come out, we'll get it from them also.
Be interesting to see how many minutes he gets in this game. Right now, the Clippers came out in tonight's game red hot. They started off with a 12-2 lead after starting 4 for 4 from 3, and they finished the first half with 16 first-half trays, and they kept that lead until halftime. It's now 77-45 at half. We'll have the full highlights from tonight's game at 10 o'clock. Alrighty, before we go, some unfortunate news from Lafayette today as Ragin' Cajun offensive line coach DJ Looney passed away Saturday morning following a heart attack during a team workout at Cajun Field this morning. Prayers to him and his family and the team during this difficult time. We'll have more news right after this commercial break.
Now, Sports 2 with Reggie Chatman.
Good evening and welcome back. I'm Reggie Chatman with your sports. You know the thing about sports, you know sports are back when your team finds a way to frustrate you, and yet you decide to come back for more just 2 nights later. After blowing a 16-point lead on Thursday, the New Orleans Pelicans were looking to bounce back against one of the best teams in the NBA to help give them a better shot to get into the playoffs. And spoiler alert, they didn't bounce back at all. Pelicans versus Clippers, both teams coming off of losses. The question coming in was how much Zion would we see in this game? He struggled a lot. In the second quarter here, he rolled his ankle on this play and came out for a little bit. He would return to this game, but if we're being honest, it really didn't matter. Los Angeles unloaded the clip from behind the arc. Punt absolutely intended. Paul George started the game 3 for 3 from behind the arc. The Pels trade 12-2 early. And the law of averages never caught up to the Clippers, who just couldn't miss. They hit 16 three-pointers in just the first half, a franchise record. Zion would eventually make it back into this game, and you'll see it in a second. He would make it back on the floor, but he didn't really have it working at all. Here is the play. Comes down, offensive foul. He finished with 7 points, 5 rebounds in 14 minutes tonight. Meanwhile, the Clippers showed why they are just in a different league altogether. Paul George finished with 28 and went 8 for 11 from three-point land as the Clippers ran the Pels out of the gym. A blowout in Orlando. Pelicans lose by 23 on a night that the Clippers at one point led by 42. Pelicans had 7 of their 18 turnovers in the opening frame, and you're not going to win a lot of games like that. Their head coach Alvin Gentry recognizes that problem and also knows something will have to change with only 6 games left to get in contention for that 8 seed in the playoffs.
We have things that we've got to start doing better, and we got to start doing them better immediately. You know, we don't have a month or 2 weeks or anything to go, and it is that, you know, you look at our turnovers, and we've had 40 turnovers in the last 2 games, and we give up 31 points tonight, 26 the other night, so we're giving almost 60 points up on our turnovers.
I don't think it's effort. I feel like I've never really questioned their effort. I think a lot of it was just feeling scrambled mentally and trying to figure out what works.
We got to eliminate the bad decisions, be it early or late. You know, we're trying to do things that are not there. Those are the things that we got to get out of our game and get it out immediately.
Yeah, turnovers are bad, but those look terrible. Here's what the standings currently look like in the West. Pelicans, with the loss tonight, dropped to 12th place and 4 games back. The Grizzlies, with those 6 games left to play. When they play those Grizzlies on Monday, they'll be either 3.5 or 4.5 games back after the Grizzlies play the Spurs tomorrow. Either way, the Pels have a lot of work to do if they want to make that 8th seed. Now, speaking of work, the NFL welcomed back players across the league for COVID-19 testing before training camp really ramps up. The Saints didn't add anyone to the COVID-19 list today, unlike the Lions, who added their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, earlier today. Speaking of those quarterbacks, Drew Brees comes back this season for his 20th year in the NFL, a decision that Brees said today took a lot of serious thinking and praying to come to. At the end of the day, his goal is to win a Super Bowl, and he came back for his team. As the black and gold continue to look and begin walkthroughs, meetings, and workouts on Monday. The 41-year-old recognizes how odd a season this will be during a pandemic, but believes he's in the correct place to help get through it all.
And I'm excited for this season. There's obviously a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of variables, and there's a lot of things that we're going to have to navigate, but I think that that's something that we've always been very good at. I mean, how many times have we had to evacuate for hurricanes or have to make adjustments on the fly for various reasons or circumstances? It certainly makes you value the type of organization that we're in and the coaching staff, and I think just the consistency of what we have been able to put together here. My wife and I had this conversation back when I made the decision. Yes, I'm coming back. I want to play for my team, but I also feel that this year is going to be about something much greater than football. And at this point, I think that was an understatement.
It'll be fun to see what Drew Brees does this year. All right, before we go, some unfortunate news from Lafayette today as Ragin' Cajun offensive line coach DJ Looney passed away Saturday morning following a heart attack during a team workout at Cajun Field. Prayers to him and his family and this team during a difficult time. We'll have more news right after this commercial break.
Now, Sports 2 with Reggie Chatman.
It's been Super Bowl since I got here. If you can't tell, we have all the talent on paper. We just have to, like I said, correct those mistakes, those little mistakes, because they end up costing us big, and make sure we take advantage of our opportunities.
The expectations are always high for Michael Thomas, and so far he's lived up to all his lofty goals except for getting that elusive Lombardi trophy. Good evening and welcome back. I'm Reggie Chatman with your sports. Tomorrow marks the first day the New Orleans Saints begin training camp in Metairie after a week of testing and physicals. They will have a chance to start working out in the weight room, go through walkthroughs and team meetings before helmets and pads go on next week. Last year, around this time of year, wide receiver Michael Thomas inked himself a 5-year, $100 million extension. And after that, he put together a record-breaking season where he led the NFL in multiple categories on his way to a third straight Pro Bowl selection. This year, he recognized the challenges this odd season will present, including not being able to play in preseason games to help tune up before the year. For that reason, he'll be relying on what Pro Football Focus ranks as the 6th best secondary in the league to get him ready, something Thomas believes is an iron sharpens iron situation.
We just have to keep each other honest. Like I said, we got to maximize the opportunity and the window we have, because at the end of the day, it's the same window all the 31 teams have. So whoever is most locked in, whoever is preparing the right way and taking advantage of, the time that they're given, and taking care of one another, making sure, everyone's practicing like social distancing, wearing a mask, keeping your hands clean, looking out for one another. I feel like those are going to be the teams that are competing for a championship at the end of the day. So it's definitely going to be fun going against those guys, but we also have to keep them honest because the window is smaller, so we can't allow people to make the same mistakes.
Now, just a quick note, Michael Thomas's production last year earned him the coveted 99 overall rating in Madden, so I'll be throwing his way when the game comes out. Anyway, some new Saints transactions today as the team looks to trim down their roster. Former LSU offensive lineman Adrian McGee and 9 others are no longer part of the organization. Maurice Harris, the only player now a free agent, while everyone else, including Adrian McGee, is now on waivers and could be picked up as soon as tomorrow. All right, switching gears to the court, a day after what was a stinker 23-point loss against the Clippers, the New Orleans Pelicans know that winning each of the next 6 games on their schedule will be crucial, especially with a match with a team they're chasing, the Memphis Grizzlies, on Monday. The Grizzlies are led by Zion Williamson's former AAU teammate and number 2 overall pick Ja Morant, who holds that 8th seed. And today, the Grizzlies lost to the Spurs, which means the Pelicans will go into tomorrow 3.5 games back. The Pelicans are 2-0 this season against the Grizzlies, but their last matchup was all the way back at the end of January. Point guard Lonzo Ball believes there is a huge difference between the Pelicans team today and what they looked like before the bubble.
Based off the film, you can see that we're 2 different teams right now compared to how we were before the break versus how we are now. So whatever we got to do to get back to how we were playing before, we got to do it, whether that's mentally or just watching more film. I don't know. I mean, it starts tomorrow. It's basically a must-win game for us.
They do a lot of switching, and we just got to make sure that we're taking advantage of the switches, not to the point of just trying to post the ball or force it in, but playing in space and having a good flow to our offense.
One thing Gentry kept bringing up is the fact that the Pelicans were really bad with turnovers the last couple of nights, and what they'll have to do is try to avoid that if they want to make themselves a chance at the playoffs. All right, that's it for sports. I have more news right after this commercial break.